The disposition I possess that will help me be most successful is just believing that all students can learn. I think this is very important. I truly do believe all students can learn. I think that setting high expectations for all students is important, but just realizing that what is expected of each student is going to be different. I think demanding high effort is almost more important than the outcomes. I think an expectation of a student that's 2 grade levels behind is going to look different than the expectation of a student that's on level or above level. I think another disposition I possess that will help me be successful is my genuine care and being warm with my students. I think just building a relationship, building that trust. I think when the kids know that you're invested in them, it's reciprocated in their work and their effort that they put forth for you. The disposition I need to work on the most, I would say, is promoting and supporting curiosity in the classroom. I think I appreciate their creativity, but I could do a better job of allowing that creativity to show in their assignments and their classwork, so that students aren't, their creativity is not hindered in the class, but it's more used as an asset instead of a liability. Also, I think another area I could improve is community leadership. I think just community outreach too, just being able to talk to those community members or other staff members like in the ELD services or the SPED services, that communicating with them to talk about what students need and how they're helping the students and how to incorporate that into my classroom, and just building a community that extends further than just my classroom itself. I think a lot of the dispositions demonstrate an understanding of cultural and learning differences. I think they say meet all learners' needs. That means no matter if the student has language barriers, if they have learning disabilities, I think it's very inclusive and extends deeper to that. I think also it's important to build relationships with their families. I think that's one area that biases maybe occur is the students that don't have the same socioeconomic status, the same cultural background as you. So if I were to use a real world application example and only half my class can actually resonate or relate to that example, then therefore I was only beneficial to half my students because my bias didn't allow all students to benefit from that example. And so I think just being aware of that, I don't think biases are necessarily intentional, but I think it's our job to try to eliminate those from happening. And I also think it's with the families, I think it's just knowing that just because they don't speak the same language doesn't mean they don't care just as much. They still want to be communicated with, whether that takes an interpreter or translating letters home. I think it's our job to make sure that we are meeting all families and all learners' needs. How do you plan to use feedback from your annual performance evaluation? I plan on being open-minded. If there's positives that are on my evaluation, I think it's important to make sure that those positives are reflected in all my lesson plans and not just that one that I was evaluated on. Additionally, if I get an evaluation where I have multiple areas where I need to grow or one specific area, I think it's important to take that open-minded and know that it's an opportunity to grow and be better in that area and not get down or be mad at the person who gave the evaluation. How I plan to use student data and performance to affect my teaching practices. I think there's so much data available through all the assessments, through all of the technology, and how you can do groupings and instructional groupings and the different tiers. I think it's really important to, number one, just look at it. There's so much data available. I think it's a disservice to your students to not look at ways to help them. There's so many online resources available, or just resources in general, that I think acknowledging that students might be low in one domain, so allowing that domain such as vocabulary or a comprehension skill or phonics, allowing that skill to be the focus in the skills groups, and also spend extra time focusing on that. The student's probably not deficient because they just don't know it. They're probably deficient because it hasn't been on the forefront of your instructions. So I think just looking at it and also using the data to positively affect your teaching practices is important.